In 2024, an anime by the name of Shikanoko Noko Noko Koshtantan, translated as My Dear Friend Nokotan, even though that's not what Shikanoko Noko Noko Koshtantan means, was unleashed onto the world. It was a comedy featuring a deer girl with supernatural powers and no brain cells, a delinquent girl who pretended to be a goody two-shoes until that plotline was dropped and forgotten about within a couple episodes, a 15-year-old girl who desperately wanted to kiss her sister on the lips, and bashame. We will not be discussing any of these other characters, nor the show at large, because quite frankly, I don't think it's worth the time of day. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This show was anime slop from beginning to end. It was fun watching the deer girl basically be a less competent version of Bugs Bunny, but the show insisted on calling attention to every single joke it made in that sort of "they fly now" manner. Like, nearly every time they made a joke, one of the characters would react to it and be like, "What do you mean this thing that is happening on screen is happening right now?" And if that was the only issue with the show, that'd be one thing, but for some goddamn reason they insisted on making the sister fucker one of the main four characters, and every single scene she is in had something unjustifiably uncomfortable in it. Also, the show sexualizes teenage girls, but since this is anime, I'm just gonna assume you already assumed that. I really wanted to stop watching it after episode 3 when it became clear that the sister fucker was going to become a permanent member of the main cast, but there was a problem. The problem is that episode 3 was when they introduced bashame. It was only in the second half of the episode, so I barely even got to see her at all, but what I did see was enough to make me continue watching the show despite everything I just said about it. I need to tell you about bashame.
バシャメメメです。歯科部所属の歯科見習い、人以上歯科未満の新1年生です。
Please don't crash my PC while I continue to record this. You guys have no idea how jank this setup of mine is. So, bashame. The first thing you'll probably notice about her is that she is high. Off life, this is a girl who seems to conquer every stage of Maslow's hierarchy of needs with nothing more than rice. Rice is all she requires. She lives for that shit. There are no challenges for her to overcome, there's no ostensible sadness in her heart, she just eats rice and circulates dopamine. To call her a one-dimensional character would almost be giving her too much credit, but I think that's sort of the point. She isn't supposed to be complex or nuanced. She never contributes to the story or develops her personality, she never changes, she never does anything. The closest she ever comes to affecting anything was the time she started growing a rice paddy on school grounds, and that had nothing to do with anything else in the plot. It was literally just a thing she did. My favorite scene from the entire show is this.
実はちょっとまんざらでもないコシタンであった。ノコタンのターン。That's it. That's her entire contribution to the scene. Just 2 seconds of hitting some mochi with a hammer. Honestly, it kind of sums her up entirely. This girl is barely a character. She might as well be a background decoration. But I love her more than anything else in this show regardless. She is flawless. And I think one of the reasons I love her character so much is I'm jealous. You thought you were clicking on a video about an anime? Tricked ya. I'm making this about myself. Fuck you. Seriously though, I am jealous of her. If I was just a brainless background character who was able to fulfill all my happiness needs by cooking rice, my life would be a hell of a lot more joyous. Instead, I've got at least 4 different mental disorders, and I had to spend literally my entire 20s trying to figure out how to function as a human being on an absolute baseline level. And even after largely getting a handle on myself, I still have a notable amount of depression in me, I worry about everything almost constantly, I got serious issues with motivation, I'm lonely and listless, and I'm terrified that this whole attempt at a YouTube career won't end up working out for me. In other words, bashame is a teenage girl in a slice-of-life anime brimming with inconsequential fun, and I am an adult in the real world. But even so, I can't help but compare myself to her. She reminds me of myself when I would abuse weed all day every day, and I felt good during those times. Being high made me dumb, and it made everything in the world more interesting and satisfying to experience. It lowered the bar for my needs, it made me feel artificially content with my life. But it wasn't healthy. I'll talk more about my addiction in a future video, but the short of it is, when you rely on artificial means of happiness, you find yourself even less capable of being happy once you're no longer using those things. So I wasn't really bashame maxing, I was cheating. And I still found myself unable to derive any pleasure from the things I did in life whenever I wasn't high. And you know what else I was unable to do? Fucking anything! It's definitely true that frequent weed use makes you more lazy. Not only does it make you sleepy and lethargic, but it fills your brain with all the chemicals you're supposed to get from actually doing things. And so you don't need to do them anymore in order to feel good. So you pump your brain full of THC every day for months and months and months, barely being productive at all, And then once you finally have a day where you're not doing it, you look around at your life and realize you haven't been doing anything with it. And you also notice that you can barely feel any joy while sober. Now, let me tell you, that does not inspire a feeling of contentedness. Here's the thing. Like I talked about in my last video, one of the defining features of humanity is our inability to be satisfied with the status quo. We're naturally programmed to continuously improve things. They say it's the simple things in life that make you happy, but a lot of the time that doesn't really happen unless those things were made possible via our own accomplishments. Getting back to bashame.
着るな。なかなかの通気性です。
It's like, I belong to a race of the most complex life forms in the known universe. How the hell is something as simple as rice supposed to make me happy? I ask myself, is this way of life even truly attainable? Does bashame really represent a mindset that's possible to achieve in the real world? Or is she just a piece of idealized anime slop to fit in with the rest of the slop of this show? Can any of us ever truly be as happy as bashame? Or is the life of the silly rice girl every bit as much of a power fantasy as a teenage shonen superhero? I recall the rice patty. Why did bashame choose to start a rice patty? If rice is all she needs to be happy, if the simple act of cooking and consuming rice is enough to make her life feel satisfied, then why did she bother with the patty? Was it a way to further expand on her love of rice, like a pet owner buying an unnecessary third cat tree for the cats they already feel infinite love for? Or could it be that the human instinct of dissatisfaction actually got to her, and she felt she needed to one-up herself in order to continue enjoying rice? What will bashame do when she is out of high school? Will she work simple jobs and simply make enough money to continue buying rice? Will that be enough for her? Or will she pursue a degree in agriculture and continue to achieve more and more rice-related accomplishments in order to fill the ever-present pit in her stomach that tells her she needs to do more? I don't know the answer to these questions. Part of me wants to believe she'd be satisfied working simple jobs as long as she has rice, so I can use that version of her as an ideal mindset to strive for, but part of me wonders such a thing won't be possible for me. Maybe it is for you, maybe it will be for me one day as well, but there's definitely something within humanity that tells us not to be as satisfied with our lives as other animals, even when our lives are objectively going well. If we didn't have that instinct, we wouldn't have felt the need to construct civilizations. We're not supposed to feel like our needs have been met every time we consume one of the most basic forms of agricultural product in the world. We're supposed to do more. We're supposed to make mochi, we're supposed to make rice patties. But you know, maybe we don't have to do much more than that. If you look at our ancestors from thousands of years ago, same exact species as us, technology wasn't exactly increasing at a rate which would indicate a gaping hole ravenous for advancement in the pit of everyone's stomachs. People were kind of just making spears and huts, and that was that. Every now and then you'd have some major advancements in technology, but for the most part, people lived lives that were even simpler than bashame's.
馬車目口笛吹けます。
And I don't think they weren't happy with those lives either. Misery is never the natural state of things. If it was, animals would be too depressed to bother living and reproducing, and nothing would be alive. For life to be worth living, Mother Nature must dole out happiness. And so happiness must be the natural state of things. Or at minimum, a state of neutral emotion with the promise of happiness must be the natural state of things. Maybe that's what defines humanity. The promise of happiness, but with the condition that we have to earn it. Maybe if bashame lived a life where she got all the rights she could ever want without ever having put any effort in, she too would fall victim to ennui. But maybe a simple life really would be enough for her, so long as her rice was obtained through her own labor. Maybe that's all any of us really need. To earn something, and to allow ourselves to be happy for earning it. To put in enough work that we're able to recognize that work and be proud of it. To give ourselves credit for whatever effort we put in, even if it's only a little bit. Satisfaction does not come for free. You can simulate it and trick your brain into artificially activating its reward circuits with drugs or social media or whatever manages to give you a free dopamine hit, but it's like trying to obtain gold by buying chocolate coins. It's shiny and it'll make you feel good, but it's not real. It helps in the short term, but it'll only hamper you in the long term. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, I bought some cacti and it's actually fairly soothing to water them every week and watch them slowly grow over time. It's a small feeling, but I actually feel sort of proud of them every time I notice they've gotten a little bit bigger. And more importantly though, I've finally gotten back into making YouTube videos after barely doing anything for 3 years, and it makes me feel like I might actually be going somewhere with my life finally. I modeled and textured every single thing in this room, and when I finished it I almost couldn't believe I managed to do it. I've been so used to doing nothing for so long that part of me had forgotten what I was capable of. It didn't feel possible to even try. But I'm trying now.
I have no guarantee that any of this is going to work out, but I'm going to at least find out. I've planted my rice paddy, and I'm going to keep tending to it until it either bears crops or gets wiped out by a tsunami. And with each noticeable stage of growth, I will gaze upon my paddy, and I will say to myself, I did that. Maybe, just maybe, I'll begin to understand how Bashame sees the world the way she does. Hopefully you'll find a way to develop your own rice paddy. Just trust me when I say, if I can do it, you can too. Good luck out there. This is the outro to the video. My PC kept crashing every time I tried to record this video, and it didn't this time, and I don't know if it's because I fixed the problem or if I just got lucky, and I'm terrified that it's going to keep happening. So if other videos don't come soon, that's probably why. Please wish me luck. I hate this fucking computer.